Coming up next, Booking It reads Charlotte's Web. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Booking It. I'm, of course, your humble and eloquent host, Mr. Cooper Cobbs, and over there we've got, I guess I should say, Mr. Matthew Killingsworth. How you doing, Matthew?
Well, howdy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that means I'm doing good, too. So, really though, how are you doing?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah?
I'm doing howdy.
Doing howdy. I am doing more than howdy. I am...
You're doing, what's so more than howdy today?
I don't know. I'm
just a happy day.
Yeah, for no reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
a little bit jealous.
Yeah, well, today...
If y'all haven't noticed yet, this is the latest edition of the
Cooper Matthew Show. Did you see what I did for the description of the bonus episode that just came out?
Yes, it took me actually a while to figure out what that meant.
I think that was pretty genius. I think it was.
Okay. I thought it was a little confusing, but that's alright.
Anyway, yep. Today, we're here. We're talking about Charlotte's Web, the classic children's book by E.B. White. And Matthew, did some baggage from you.
Some baggage with Charlotte's Web. I can't remember the exact time that I heard about this, and I never actually thought about my baggage beforehand. I probably should have, but I'm pretty sure my mom suggested it to me back in the olden days when I really hated reading, and I just wanted to play outside or do Hot Wheels or whatever.
What a man!
And yeah, and she was like, "You should read books," and then she made a kind of a list of books to get me from the library, or maybe she actually just got it, and then I had to read it. And I don't think I liked it very much the first time.
Really?
But because I just really didn't like reading at all.
Oh, yeah, true.
So I was just bored with books, and the whole time I was just probably thinking I would rather be doing all this other stuff. But now I like it. Now I think it's a really great story.
For sure.
Which, like we were talking about in that bonus episode, it makes up a good book. It's a good story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for me, I remember one time going to the beach in Alabama, and all of my dad's side lives in Alabama. So we're seeing my dad's aunt, and she had been a teacher in her career, and so she sent us home with one of those big plastic, I want to say bucket/box. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
One of those, a tub, big plastic tub, full of books, like Cat in the Hat books, little thin books, and
yeah.
And so Charlotte's Web was also one of those books. That was probably one of the best rides home I ever had, because I'd just reach into that bucket and just pull out a book and start reading the entire trip home. It was awesome. And then, this book...
I would get sick.
Yeah, well, on the cover of this book, it has, from so-and-so to my aunt. So, yeah, Charlotte's Web was one of those books. I'm pretty sure Mom read it out loud the first time. I don't remember much from that, but I'm pretty sure I liked it.
Yeah.
And then I think I've probably seen the movie, the live-action one. I don't know how long it's been since I've seen that.
Oh, I think I have too, actually. I vaguely remember seeing that.
Anyway, yeah.
I think we rented it we got it from the library one time, borrowed it from the library.
Yeah. I don't remember much, but whatever. Then, a few months ago, I saw it on the shelf and was like, hey, I haven't read that in a while. I know it's a good book. Let me pick it up and read it. And then I really liked it. And so when we were trying to have a filler book for this week, I was like, hey, why not Charlotte's Web? And here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you've never read this. Well, you've read this before, but...
No, I've read it probably several times now. I can't really remember any of the times.
That's right. Yeah, fun fact, Isaiah wasn't able to be on this episode, but he had never heard of Charlotte's Web until I had recommended it. Yeah. That's what he said.
He had never heard of it?
Never heard of it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, which is really interesting, because I think this is one of the most classic children's books ever.
I know, right?
Anyway,
yeah, I agree.
Your thoughts on this Charlotte's Web this time through?
Ooh. So, like I said, I think this book has a great story in it that's kind of emotional and relatable for kids, and it's also written so easily that like kids who like if I had enjoyed books back when I first read it, then I would definitely enjoy this book like you did. But I just didn't enjoy books in general, so that's why I didn't like it. But yeah, I definitely think it's a great book for kids, and we still like it now. So I think it's a great book for almost all ages.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the things that makes this book so great, as it's great for all ages.
Yeah, it's really just simple.
Yeah, it's written
which
like
is nice. It's a nice little change.
Yeah, it's like Hemingway's writing, but for kids, and it's almost simpler than that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's really interesting, really clean style. Actually, I bought today at Half Price Books. Let me push up my glasses. Half Price Books. I bought E.B. White, and an old college professor of his wrote a styling book about how to write prose, and so I bought that. And I've heard good things, so I'm excited to start reading that. It's called Strunk and White, or Elements of Style. So
you gonna write a book now?
No, well, I like writing. Help me with my papers, push up my glasses again. Yeah. But anyway, I'm excited to start reading that. But yes, E.B. White's style is incredible.
What does EB stand for?
That's a good question. Let me look it up. I'm pretty sure I knew. Let me see. E.B. White.
Do you have a guess before we start?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Everett Buxley.
Oh, I was thinking Everett Bart.
Oh, okay. You ready for the answer?
Yes.
Elwyn Brooks.
Never would have guessed that.
Elwyn Brooks. I think we should have known
Brooks.
Yeah, I think we should have known Brooks, but Elwyn.
Yeah, Elwyn Brooks White.
Yeah.
It's not a bad name.
No, but I probably would have gone by Brooks or something like that. No, actually. Elwyn's not a great first name. Brooks is more of a last name.
Fair enough.
And White's a pretty hot last name. So E.B. White's pretty good. But anyway, I think, going back to what you said, I think that's one of the things that makes this book incredible is because even the parent reading this aloud can be like, "This is a great, I'm getting into this story," and can cry at the end, I'm sure when my parents were reading the Berenstain Bears or something like that, they were really like, "Oh, I have to read this to my kids." I'm sure but Charlotte's Web belongs in a rare company of books that people can read as adults and still enjoy.
That's what I was saying. It's simple, and it doesn't use complicated words so that kids can understand it. And even just the dialogue between characters talking is simple enough for anyone to understand.
And it's just so cute.
It still has a story.
Yeah.
It has the emotions in the book are relatable.
Yeah. This is probably one of the most relatable books in terms of how kids act or how kids think about animals or how kids talk or something like that. It's just.
And there's a few times that I remember I was like, oh wow, that's true. Yeah. At the beginning, it's the younger girl wakes up super early in the morning so she gets a pig, and the teenager guy was sleeping.
Well, no, he was a teenager, yes. And then I also really appreciated the time where he tried to knock the spider off, or like a frog. Stereotypical, country boy, country kid.
Yeah.
Here, let me read it. Mom wanted me to read a little bit of the book, so I'm going to read. I mean, his prose is just so, this book is magical in the way it describes a lot of things. So, this is the part where he's describing Mr. Zuckerman.
And because the animals talk, too, so.
True. Mr. Zuckerman had the best swing in the country. It was a single, long piece of heavy rope tied at the beam over the north doorway. At the bottom end of the rope was a fat knot to sit on. It was arranged that you could swing without being pushed. You climbed a ladder to the hayloft. Then, holding the rope, you stood at the edge and looked down and were scared and dizzy. Then you straddled the knot so that it acted as a seat. Then you got up all your nerve, took a deep breath, and jumped. For a second you seemed to be falling to the barn door far below. But then suddenly the rope would begin to catch you, and you would sail through the barn going a mile a minute. Mothers for miles around worried about Zuckerman's swing. They feared some child would fall off, but no child ever did. Children almost always hang on to things tighter than their parents think they will. It's just magical.
That is so deadly accurate right there.
I know, right? My favorite
Especially the children always hang on to things tighter than their parents think.
That's
honestly, that's so true.
And reading this book and him describing the barn, describing just the afternoon. I felt lazy when I was supposed to feel lazy. In a warm afternoon in a barn, than just the smells, sounds of the animals in the barn.
And you can imagine that swing when he's describing it. You can just imagine.
We all know what it looks like. Yeah, it's common knowledge, pretty much. Yeah, and then it's just so beautiful. And kind of go back, we were talking about earlier how anybody could read this book and like it. It's kind of like my mom reading The Hobbit out loud to my sisters. I can't tell you how many times just reading it aloud, she would just laugh. Just how funny.
The Hobbit?
The Hobbit, yeah. Just how witty Tolkien's writing was. And so it's kind of like that, how The Hobbit, I know Matthew's not a huge fan of The Hobbit, but my mom really enjoyed it. And how Hobbit and Charlotte's Web can appeal to all generations in terms of just how good its writing is. Because a lot of books nowadays, a lot of children's books, they'll just write down to kids. They'll write for kids. But E.B. White wrote a good book that was, I guess, just more
Simple
aimed for kids.
enough for kids.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, because that's what I was saying about really appreciating how this book has a story. And like a lot of kids' books now are just kind of like supposed to be educational, and they just have pictures and like say words, or like don't even really make sense. They just want to teach them words or stuff like that, teach them colors. So I don't know. I think it's a lot better when there's a book like this.
Yeah. So we established that it's a beautiful book. It's well written. We love it a lot. What is this book about, though? What is the main purpose of this book?
I think it's about kind of like a couple things, like the love for Fern, for her. Wait, what's his name? Wilbur. Yeah, I almost said. Yeah, I was thinking something else. Wilbur. Yeah, the love of Fern for Wilbur throughout the whole book, and also the kindness of Charlotte to Wilbur.
Yeah,
I think both of those are kind of the two big things I saw.
So kind of just friendship.
Yeah, definitely like friendship. But I think kind of the first part focused on Fern's love for Wilbur, because really this, when you think about it, just like in the plot, the pig was just kind of this like just lucky guy who just everyone did stuff for him. Like he was about to get killed, and then he got saved by this little girl who raised him and fed him up, and he was the runt, but then he got fed up and then sold him to like the other farm. It was like her uncle or something, and then he was getting fattened up to get slaughtered again, and then the spider saved him by making him all popular, riding in the webs.
Right.
And then she ended up like giving her life to go to the fair with him, because he didn't have much time left, or she didn't have much time left, but she spent literally until the last days of her life, she was still taking care of him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of weird how Fern, you think, is going to be kind of the, I guess, not main
side character, main side character kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
And then she just kind of disappears. Yeah. And it's like not in it anymore.
Yeah, I think that it is it's a lot about true friendship and what that looks like, I think, but also growing up too. Just you follow Fern's arc from in the beginning, just being an animal savior, and my little cousin right now, he's in that stage. He's just the I want to save all the animals stage, right? And then one of my favorite scene from this book is when the mom goes to see the doctor, Dr. Dorian, and he's like, does she know any boys? And he's like, one day she'll be more interested in boys, and you kind of see that play out at the fair. You kind of see just a complete childhood of a small child who was once concerned with animals and then now is, growing up.
And I really did like the end when, even though Charlotte died, it was still like, it was like a happy and sad ending at the same time, because you're like, oh, Charlotte died. But then it was like, but Wilbur got to live to see her kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, and like, because he lived a longer life than spiders, obviously, so he got to see them all.
Yeah, that was
a few of them still remained behind.
Yeah, some of my favorite parts from this book are the end, especially Charlotte's death scene's actually really good, even though it's really sad. And then the kind of the epilogue of Wilbur getting to know all of her kids and grandkids, like you said. It's really beautiful and heartwarming at the same time. Yeah,
that's probably the word I was looking for. I said happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm gonna read a section from the scene with the mom and the doctor. So the mom's telling him about Fern, how she's spending all the time in the barn. And the doctor goes, "How enchanting. It must be real nice and quiet down there. Homer has some sheep, doesn't he?" "Yes," says Mrs. Arable, "but it all started with that pig we let Fern raise on a bottle. She calls him Wilbur. Homer bought the pig, and ever since she's left our place, Fern has been going to her uncle's to be near it." "I've been hearing things about that pig," said Dr. Dorian. "They say he's quite a pig." "Have you heard about the words that appeared in the spider's web?" asked Miss Arable nervously. "Yes," replied the doctor. "Well, do you understand it?" asked Mr. Arable. "Understand what?" "Do you understand how there could be any writing on a spider's web?" "Oh, no. I don't understand it, but for that matter, I don't understand how a spider learned to spin a web in the first place." Just kind of, that line of dialogue. It's so funny
Like,
how they treat the
yeah.
parents as, I don't want to say imbeciles, I guess you could say, but they're not really imbeciles at the same time.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. And
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of it's witty. It's funny.
yeah. And so what I've been noticing with this time, I was following E.B. White's writing a little closer than I normally would, and he uses said a lot, but with little things, and then he also
with adverbs on it.
Well, not normally adverbs, just how he said it. He said with a shiver in his voice or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And it makes it way better than like he exclaimed or he shouted or something like that a lot of the writing curriculums would tell you to use.
Yeah.
But also just everything. I mean, his choice of, I guess, synonyms for said. Like there was a replied every now and then. There's a
All right, that's what I was saying about keeping it simple. Yeah, it's just like the simple ones.
Yeah, it's not clunky.
But yeah, I always I agree. I always appreciate it when it's because like sometimes when they do like exclaimed or like a big word like that, it's kind of unnatural. It's just like that was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's just trying too hard. But no, I like it when you just add a little bit of a, like, what is it called? Phrase or clause afterwards that, like, he said with a smile or, like,
yeah, exactly. It had so much just more than exclaimed.
And you can almost, I know, and you can picture, like, him actually smiling and, how he smiles and he's being happy when he says it because he's smiling. And it honestly tells you so much more than just, like, a fancy word.
Here, this is the scene where Wilbur is getting out of the pen. And this is when all the animals are yelling directions to him. "Run downhill," suggested the cows. "Run toward me," yelled the gander. "Run uphill," cried the sheep. "Turn and twist," honked the geese. "Jump and dance," said the rooster. "Look out for Lurvy," called the cows. "Look out for Zuckerman," yelled the gander. "Watch out for the dog," cried the sheep. Listen to me," screamed the goose. And so he used like every single synonym he could there, and yet it just feels so natural. I mean, if I can, I'll take a jibe at IEW here. So IEW is like the writing curriculum that our co-op used for 4th or 6th grade. And I mean, no offense to that. I think it's a great writing curriculum, but they essentially outlawed. They outlawed say said. They said you can't use these words, you have to use different things. And I'm not quite sure that's the way to teach how to write.
No,
I agree that you probably shouldn't use just said the entire time, but I think you break from said only when it needs to happen. It makes it just a lot smoother or something like that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Because I'll hear, like, my brothers will be writing them, and I'm like, sometimes they'll, because they have all these vocab words that they, like, memorize at the back of the book, and they're supposed to use those in their essays when they write them, and so sometimes, like, I feel like IEW encourages you to use all these fancy words and gives you all these fancy vocab words to use, and they're like, this is an adjective, it goes here, this is an adverb, it goes here, this is like a sentence starter, it goes here, this is a word you can use instead of said, it goes here, and then they don't tell them, like, when it's okay to use it and when it's not, so they basically just use it all the time for the entire essay, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, it's my mom used to say when she taught our class, like, you don't put on too much jewelry. It's like putting on too much jewelry, but they don't really tell you when to not put on jewelry at all, essentially. And so I guess that's our complaint. It's not that sure, don't use said all the time, but don't use exclaimed all the time. I think I've been using that word too much, but don't use exclaimed all the time.
Well, that's the first one that came to mind, I guess.
Yeah, but a good writer is knowing when to break the rules. So know when to break. Tell them when to break the rules. Tell them but also tell him when to put on the jewelry, but when to leave it off as well. So, anyway. So, what do you think about Charlotte, Matthew?
I thought she was kind of let's see. So, I definitely never thought of her as young as Wilbur. She was always kind of like, not quite a super old lady that's just like uninvolved and doesn't really know what's going on.
I always thought of her as like the 20-year-old librarian or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I thought she was older, but like I kind of thought of her as young, but just really wise.
Yeah, wise beyond her years, for sure.
Young, like older than Wilbur, but still kind of young, but just like a large amount of wisdom for her age.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had like a broad understanding of like everything. She would explain stuff, and like it was funny because like Wilbur was a pig, so like when there's animals talking in a book or a movie and they don't understand something from like their human world, that makes sense because they're like an animal and they're like kind of doing that. But when it's kind of funny because all of a sudden the spider knows like how to explain everything to a pig when all she's like done is sat in the doorway of a barn her whole life.
Yeah, it's true. What do you think of her as a realistic character?
Yeah, I think so. I think she was, like we were saying, just kind of like the wise, like almost like mentor kind of person. Like she kind of adopted him, honestly, like in a way. Like she looked out for him. She told him like she was going to protect him no matter what it took. And she taught him things and, made sure that he was in the know. And she was kind to him when all the other barn animals weren't. So, yeah, I think she was kind of like in control and kind of protecting him. So I think she kind of adopted him, kind of.
Yeah, for sure. I thought at first I was kind of off-putted by the intro of Charlotte. She was like, "Oh yeah, I eat spiders. I suck their blood, and isn't that nice? I knock them out before I do it." And I thought that was really weird at first. And like Wilbur, I'm like, I don't want to be friends with this lady. But then I think obviously you kind of your love, I guess, grows for Charlotte. It feels like E.B. White is kind of defending spiders here. He's like, listen, they have to do it. Like the spiders have to live. They have to make a living. It's kind of like when you see a movie and they cut out stuff to make it PG-13 that would normally, I guess, be in there. Like, in The Passion of the Christ, for instance, like they hold nothing back from what the crucifixion really would have been like. And it is very violent, but it's what would have happened. I mean, it's what happened, essentially. It's the amount of violence that you would have seen.
Or it's truth.
It's truth, exactly. Yeah. It's like A.B. White's like, sorry, they have to eat flies. He's kind of like defending them.
Well, that's how they were designed.
Right, then he pulled the old, if they didn't eat them, then the bugs would take over the world. And I'm like, okay. I feel like it's overused. Or that Diary of a Worm. So, let's talk about Wilbur, huh? Some pig, huh?
Some pig, that's right.
I don't know what I have to say about Wilbur, other than he's a cute pig.
He was supposed to be the main character, but he just kind of
got
carried
device
by other people the whole time.
He seemed more like a plot device.
Like a plot device, yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
He was like the object. I felt like he was like an object. Because the focuses of the story weren't necessarily on a specific character. Like we said, they kind of changed it around. But they were always like an emotion or like a fruit that was being like exampled or exemplified in this story. Like the love of Wilbur from Fern, or the kindness of Charlotte, or whatever. And he was always just like the object of all the lessons.
Yeah. Honestly, now I'm thinking about it, this really seems like this story doesn't have a huge plot. It does. It has a plot, trying to save this pig. Yeah. But in the end, it just feels like normal life turned into just a couple
turned
of...
into a
month.
A little bit more dramatic.
Right. Yeah. And just take a couple of months from somebody's life and just tell a story with that. That's what it feels like. And so, Wilbur doesn't feel, I don't know. I mean, he just seems like a plot device. He is really cute, and I think all the animals are really realistic, especially Templeton. But in the end,
Templeton is probably my favorite, honestly.
Yeah, he's kind of like everybody knows, like the roguish character. I'll only do it if you pay me something. But in the end, you kind of grow to like Templeton. Even Evie White's like, nobody really likes Templeton. Well, I mean, he saved Charlotte's egg sack.
He carried the eggs back, yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of things. He brought words. Yeah. So, I want to read Charlotte's death scene real fast.
I will say while you're flipping that I thought it was kind of funny how there's like several things that when you just think of the thing, it like you think of something gross, like for example a rat or a sack of spider eggs, or like all those things are just like gross, but in the story for some reason they weren't. Even a rat carrying a sack of eggs wasn't gross.
Yeah, maybe because the book seems so innocent that it didn't really want to delve into that. Anyway, here we go. Goodbye, she whispered. Then she summoned all her strength and waved one of her front legs at him. She never moved again. Next day, as the Ferris wheel was being taken apart, and the racehorses were being loaded into vans, and entertainers were packing up their belongings and driving away in their trailers, Charlotte died. The fairgrounds were soon deserted. The sheds and buildings were empty and forlorn. The infield was littered with bottles and trash. Nobody, of the hundreds of people that visited the fair, knew that a gray spider had played the most important part of all. No one was with her when she died. Oh, it's just so sad, isn't it?
Yeah, that is sad.
But it's also chilling in a good way. Like, it gives you goosebumps. It's kind of, I mean, it's just kind of saying this is what's going to happen. I mean,
but then it's like that also happens like a bajillion times every day.
Yeah.
So, like a spider will die every day, and we don't know or care about it. So
it's kind
if they had some deep relationship with a pig, and had a dramatic death, none of us really care. We're just the people who litter the ground and walk away.
Yeah, and Evie White seems like he's kind of saying, "Hey, even the lowliest of creatures like a spider, it's a miracle when a spider spins a web. It's a miracle, when just life is a miracle." And it's kind of sad that nobody takes the time to appreciate even this small gray spider dying.
Yeah. And where'd she learn to read and write? No, I'm just kidding. No, I was going to say, like, when you were reading the doctor scene, he was like, I don't even understand how they spin webs in the first place. There's a good amount of truth to that.
Yeah, it's true, man.
Like, that's actually pretty fair.
Yeah. Anyway, you have any other thoughts before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
How many spider webs out of 700? How many eggs did she lay? No. How many baby spiders out of 514 do you give this book? That's how many eggs she had.
I'll give it a 416.
416, nice. So 4 stars. I'll give it 475.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
4.75 stars.
That's right. Pretty much. Anyway, we really love this book. I think we both highly recommend it as a read aloud or just as a good book to read. For sure. All right, it's time for some donor shout-outs. All right, Matthew, I say the donor, and you say which farm animal you think they are.
I knew you were going to do that.
Oh, you did you? Should have been prepared.
Uh-huh.
All right, Nana.
Nana is Wilbur.
Nice. Ven Vapianuela.
The geese.
What are Isaiah's grandparents again? Names again? Gosh. Isaiah's grandparents.
Look on the note sheet. Isaiah's grandparents are cows.
Nice. Mr. Mike and Miss Laura. Surely you're not running out of animals, Matthew.
No. I'm just considering. Oh, chickens.
I'm gonna make you pick again because there's no chickens in this book. There's at least 2 others that I can think of.
Goats.
Sure, I'll give you goats. Whatever. Isaiah's uncle, Sebi.
Templeton the rat.
Ah, The Lone Ranger. I like it. Aunt Jenny and Uncle Sam.
The sheep.
Alright, Isaiah's cousins Moses and Zara.
Oh, well, they can be the geese again. They can be more geese.
Okay, and last but
This
not
is
least,
embarrassing how much trouble I'm having coming up with farm animals.
last but not least, Christopher.
Chris Hagedon. Charlotte the Spider.
What a legend. Alrighty, guys, thanks so much for donating. If you want a donor shout out, make sure you go to patreon.com/bookinit. Donate $5 or more, we'll give you a donor shout out. If you can't donate for whatever reason, please leave a 5-star rating and review. And until next time,
Keep on booking it.